A tropical spider. The human body is a fascinating place, and sometimes things end up inside of us that don't quite belong. Take the story of Dylan Thomas, a young guy in his 20s who had to have a tropical spider surgically removed from his body during a vacation to Bali. And to answer your first question, no, he did not get any superpowers. What he got instead was a very cool story to tell for the rest of his life. But how did Dylan get a tropical spider inside of him? Well, it all happened when Thomas visited the doctor after waking up with a huge red scar-like mark going from his belly button up to his chest. The doctor told him that it was just an insect bite and to put some cream on it. But a few days later, the scar began to blister. Thomas then visited a dermatologist who immediately realized that something horrifying was going on. Some tests were done and it turned out there was a tropical spider living inside of him for at least 3 days. Luckily, the spider was dead when it was removed, and as of the time the story was published, experts were still waiting for tests to see exactly what species of spider it was. It was also unclear how exactly the spider managed to get inside of him, and some people online even claim that Dylan was just a big fat liar and made up the whole story. According to a report from the Bunbury Mail, Dylan was recently trying to raise money for a Spider-Man tattoo as commemoration for the experience. Have you ever been bitten by a spider? What happened? Did you have to go to the hospital? Tell me in the comments below. Then remember, if you haven't subscribed already, to go ahead and subscribe to Talltanic for more cool videos just like this one. Pea plant in the lung. A man in Massachusetts was rushed to the hospital when his lung collapsed. He had been battling emphysema for several months and his condition deteriorated suddenly. After his visit to the hospital, the Massachusetts man was prepared for a cancer diagnosis. This is because x-rays taken after his lung collapsed revealed a growth inside of his lung. But what looked like cancer turned out to be a pea plant growing inside of his lung. This was not the prognosis that anyone saw coming. Doctors believe that the patient at some point swallowed a pea, but it went down the wrong tube. The pea then decided that it would just go ahead and grow inside of the guy's lung. By the time the plant was removed, it was about half an inch, 1 centimeter in size. The good news here, of course, is that the guy did not have cancer, but unfortunately he still had emphysema. As for the pea plant, it turns out that peas can grow basically anywhere. Who would have thought that the inside of a human lung would be the perfect greenhouse? 78 forks and spoons. We've all heard of people with strange eating habits. Some people have a love for eating soap, some people enjoy eating foreign foods, and then there's the woman who was obsessed with eating cutlery. While not many of us probably see the allure in chomping down on spoons and forks, this woman ate them like popcorn. According to Fox News, she actually had to go under the knife, no pun intended, to remove 78 forks and spoons that were stuck inside of her stomach. The doctor said that every time Margaret Dahlman, who was from Rotterdam in Holland, sat down to eat a meal, she instead ignored the food and ate the silverware. The woman was 52 years old when she eventually had to get hospitalized because of severe pain in her stomach. A quick x-ray revealed the dozens of implements inside of her, and surgery successfully removed them. This is obviously the strangest and possibly most dangerous compulsion a person can have. According to Margaret herself, she felt an urge to eat the silverware and could not help herself. Luckily, she was smart enough not to swallow any knives, and so nothing ended up piercing her stomach wall and causing major damage. She eventually was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. And according to the report from Fox News, Margaret has made a complete recovery from the surgery and is responding well to her therapist. She is also not eating forks and spoons anymore, and hopefully she does not start again anytime soon. Wedding ring. This next story fits into a few different categories. Yes, it's a bizarre thing found in a person's body, but it's also one of the stupidest crimes ever committed. It all happened in 2011 when a man tried to make off with a diamond wedding ring that he had stolen from a couple's home. The man from Chicago actually swallowed the wedding ring before it could be retrieved by its owner. According to ABC News, the man's name is Wilfred Gonzalez, and he was doing a remodeling project for a couple when he asked if he could use the bathroom of their home. But after his trip to the bathroom, the woman of the house realized that her diamond ring was missing. Her husband confronted the man, the two got into a fight, and the suspect took the ring from his shoe and stuffed it into his mouth. This was obviously completely ridiculous, and when police arrived, Gonzalez confessed to stealing the ring. He ended up having to do an x-ray. He was taken to the local hospital, and the expensive diamond ring was spotted inside of his stomach. The end of the story is kinda hilarious, as Gonzalez was taken to jail and stuffed in a room with a bedpan. The authorities gave him a laxative and waited for him to poop out the ring, which happened at around 4 a.m. The ring was then returned to the couple, and hopefully they gave it a good washing before it was put back on the woman's finger. matter. As for the thief, he appeared in court and had a bail set for $10,000. 350 coins. The woman who ate 78 pieces of cutlery was quite obviously insane, but meet the man who was admitted to a hospital in France after coming down with some stomach pains because he ate 350 coins, a few different necklaces, and even some needles. This guy also had a history of psychiatric illness. He was 62 years old when admitted to the hospital, complete with a swollen stomach. He could not eat and he couldn't go to the toilet. Doctors at the hospital were absolutely floored when they discovered a mass the size of a bowling ball inside his stomach. Apparently, the family of the man had warned doctors previously of his habit for swallowing coins, and he had even had some removed from his stomach in previous hospital visits. Fortunately, the guy was admitted to surgery 5 days after arriving at the hospital, and surgeons were able to take the coins out of his stomach. They found an equivalent of 4,050 francs inside his belly. Doctors believe that he had been swallowing coins for at least 10 years. The objects became so heavy that they pushed the man's stomach all the way down to between his hips. It was basically like eating weights, and they really messed up his body. So far as doctors could surmise, the man just really liked eating coins. He even had a habit of stealing coins from other people and eating them. Surgical scissors. Get ready for a horror story. Surgery is not an easy thing to undergo. There are so many things to worry about, like the surgery going wrong, the anesthesia not being applied properly, and now apparently we all need to be worried that doctors will accidentally leave their surgical instruments inside of us. That's because a man in Vietnam recently needed to have a pair of scissors removed from his stomach 18 years after a surgeon accidentally left them inside during an operation. This is definitely the most negligent thing that a surgeon has probably ever done and probably ever could do. What's even more fascinating is that the man probably wouldn't have known about the scissors. He only went to the hospital because of a road accident. The doctors took an ultrasound test and were shocked to find the scissors lodged in one side of the man's abdomen. They were not ordinary scissors either, but a pair of surgical forceps. According to the report from Global News, the hospital that found the forceps was the same hospital where this guy had had his surgery in 1998. Doctors removed the instrument from his body in yet another surgery, and they acknowledged the incident on state television, but denied any wrongdoing on their part, claiming that medical records from 18 years ago were no longer available. Maggot Miasis. Miasis is one of the most horrendous medical terms known to man. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, or the CDC for short, miasis is an infection of fly larvae. It normally happens in a tropical or subtropical area when a person accidentally ingests larvae from a fly, either through an open wound or sore, through the nose, or through the ears. This can also occur when a person is bitten by a mosquito or other type of fly that then embeds their larva inside the wound. It's an absolutely horrendous condition that essentially ends up with maggots being hatched inside of a human body. It can happen inside of a wound, and it can essentially make the area of your body rot while the maggots eat you from the inside out. Anyone who has gone traveling to a tropical area has probably heard of this awful condition. And guess what? It really does happen. In Hong Kong, health officials just recently reported 2 human cases, one in January and another in February. The first case involved a 99-year-old elderly resident who was admitted to a public hospital after her gums swelled and started bleeding. A surgical examination found an oral ulcer and a deep cavity filled with maggots. Basically, the woman had somehow ended up with maggots being hatched inside of an ulcer in her mouth. Now that's disgusting. Bone, teeth, hair. Let's keep it going with another disgusting story. A teenager in Indiana was rushed to the hospital because of a bizarre mass protruding from her abdomen, but you'll never believe what it was. After some investigation, the doctors found an enormous hunk of bone, teeth, and hair inside her abdomen. According to the doctors, the large mass was actually her twin. This is a very rare condition known as fetus in fetu. For the previous 5 years, the girl explained to doctors that she had been developing a lump in her abdomen and it had been increasing in size. She sometimes felt abdominal pain and often felt full even when she hadn't eaten a lot of food. Apparently, she had been part of 2 fetuses while in the womb, but she had absorbed the other fetus and was born perfectly healthy. But rather than the other fetus perishing, it continued to grow inside of her body. This is one of only 7 cases where this has happened to a person over the age of 15. It's such a bizarre medical issue that scientists don't even know what causes it to happen. Luckily, the teenager received a surgery and was okay after the doctors removed what was essentially a hairball of teeth and bone the size of a baby. The teen is expected to make a full recovery. A house key. Sometimes things happen when we drink too much and we can't remember them. Well, Chris Foster had no memory of swallowing his door key after a night of drinking with his friends. The young man was only 18 years old when this happened. After spending the night on a friend's couch, he could not find his key. Then he started feeling unusually unwell. Chris ended up having to go to the hospital because of horrible pain in his throat and a strange sensation in his stomach. An x-ray then revealed his door key sitting peacefully in his stomach. Luckily, there was no surgery required. Doctors sent the boy home, told him to let nature do its thing, and 31 hours later, Chris got his key back. Of course, he did have to thoroughly rinse the key afterwards, and he probably won't make the silly decision of swallowing his key ever again. Wouldn't want to put it in his mouth after that. Let this be a lesson to all the party goers out there. Don't swallow your keys. Knife in the head. When most people get stabbed in the head, they die. However, a man from Harlem ended up being extremely lucky after he escaped a stabbing with just a few minor injuries and a kitchen knife stuck in his scalp. A video was uploaded online that showed the gory aftermath of the attack. The man can be seen in the video talking calmly to the mortified onlookers while a kitchen knife stuck out from the top of his head. It looked like he couldn't even feel it. According to eyewitnesses, the man didn't even want to get into the ambulance and refused to tell anyone his name. But according to the police, the kitchen knife didn't actually penetrate the guy's skull, and that ultimately saved his life. It instead got wedged inside the flesh of his head. He was eventually taken to Harlem Hospital and was later listed in stable condition. The stabbing had apparently been from a domestic squabble in which the female companion of the man stabbed him directly in the head with a knife. It's unclear exactly what happened to the woman, but it's safe to say the pair probably will not be getting back together. Which one of these terrifying discoveries made you cringe the most? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe and don't forget to come back soon for another awesome video.